Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in KITZUR HILCHOS Shabbos. We're in the laws of toichen, of grinding. Ein techina achar techina. There's no such thing as grinding after grinding. Kevan shein techina achar techina. Since the halach is that we don't count grinding after grinding as a prohibition, mutar l'far lechem, a biscuit, or v'chein matzah. A person is allowed to crumble their bread, or biscuits, crackers, and matzah. Even if you are going to crumble them up so much, they turn into small little pieces. The reason is, since they were already ground once, the flour itself, that the bread or the biscuits and the crackers and the matzah is made out of is from flour that was already ground up once, so the techina already took place on it. Therefore, the halach is we're not worried about techina now because it was already done. So you can crumble up. This is good to know going into Pesach. If you're from the camp that allows the matzah to get wet, so then you are allowed to crumble your matzah into your chicken soup by the Seder, or any other time of the time of the holiday that you want to. Why? Because ein techina achar techina. Anyway, over there that's Yom Tov, and Yom Tov is a different halacha. But if Shabbos, let's say Friday night, you want to crumble your matzah into your chicken soup, go for it. Says the KITZUR Shabbos. V'gam kan ein lefarim b'chli amiyuchalem b'yimei achol. And even over here, though, when you're allowed to, still don't use a utensil that you would normally use during the week to crumble the bread or the matzah, which means if you have some kind of special, I don't know, you'd have a knife or a fork or something else that mashes and breaks bread and turns it into crumbs, you're not allowed to use that. Even here there is a side to be machmir, to be a little bit strict, not to do this until you are samach l'suda, right before the meal is going to begin. Shinui, and the next halach is what's called the shinui, when you do things in a roundabout way, in the abnormal, unusual way to perform this action. Even though that we allow you to do techina, to grind, when you do it with a shinui, some unusual way, when you need to eat. Not every shinui, not every type of unusual action is going to be permissible. Rather, you use a shinui that changes the way in which you do the techina itself. What does that mean? During the week, you would never crumble, you would never grind, you would never mash something in this way. Because it's more difficult to do than the regular way, so a person would never do it. But it doesn't help if you just change the place of where you are doing the grinding. That's not called a big enough of a shinui, of a change for this heter, for this leniency. Therefore, in order to pulverize, so to speak, an apple over here with a fork or a knife, or when it comes to a banana, instead of using the top of the knife or the fork, you use the handle instead. And to mash potatoes that are cooked already, to use the back handle, the handle of a fork, that's also fine. You would never do this during the week. So just like if you wanted to grind up an apple, you would never end up using but over there you would end up using the handle of the fork, the handle of the knife. So too by bananas, so too by potatoes, you're always going to use the handle because that's not the way you would do it during the week. It's difficult to do that. So therefore, nikra shinui tov, that's called a very good shinui, and that's called a good, different way to do this. But if you just mash it on the table in the regular way that you normally would, that doesn't count. That's not called a good shinui. Nevertheless, kvar kasavnu sheyesh mekilim la'olam samuch l'suda b'makom tzarech. There are those who say that in a makom tzarech, when you really need it, for example, the baby needs to eat the banana and it's right before you're going to feed them, you could even mash it up without doing the shini v'al kain. If you're in a really stuck situation, it's just not going with the handle, you have no other way to do it except with the fork, go ask a Talmid Chacham that you can do it. If you're in a situation where there's nobody else around to ask, it seems to be you have this heta to rely upon over there, that you could, when push comes to shove, when you have no other choice, you could rely upon the lenient opinion over here. But in general, a person should be using the handle of the fork, the knife, the spoon, whatever they need to, in order to do the grinding and the mashing over here. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.